The millionaire's son screams in a restaurant, but a waitress unleashes a shocking miracle. Victor Sinclair was not just any billionaire's son. He was the living embodiment of reckless abandon. His entrance into the Aurora restaurant, a lavish establishment tucked away in the heart of the city, was nothing short of an event. Shiny chandeliers cast an opulent glow, and the low hum of chatter danced with the clinking of crystal glasses. Elegance draped the room, making it seem like the kind of place where whispers floated rather than words. But today, that ambiance was soon to be shattered. As Victor stormed through the entrance, his designer suit looked perfectly tailored, but his expression was wild, unhinged. His eyes burned with a frustration that could ignite the walls. In one swift motion, he shoved his chair back, causing it to scrape loudly against the marble floor, a sound that cut through the soft murmurs like a knife through silk. "Enough," he roared, his voice echoing, turning heads in disbelief. Muffled gasps and shocked expressions spread through the crowd. This was not a man accustomed to handling his emotions in public. His father's wealth had cushioned him against the world, but it had not shielded him from his own inadequacies. The restaurant fell silent, the air thick with confusion. Yet, in the midst of the shocked onlookers, Claire, a waitress with a calm demeanor amid chaos, stepped into the spotlight. She wasn't there to observe and critique. She was there to serve. Her soft features belied a strength beyond the ordinary, a spark that had the potential to ignite the deepest wounds, the kind that could heal lost souls. There was something mysterious about her, something that drew Victor's agitated eyes to her as she approached. "Sir, please calm down," Claire urged, her voice steady. It was drenched in kindness, yet edged with authority. The room held its breath as she took a step closer. Her gentle presence radiated an unusual energy that felt like a balm. For a fleeting moment, Victor's fury was interrupted by an unexpected warmth. But then, with boldness fueled by desperation, he challenged her. "What can you possibly know of my pain?" The challenge hung heavy. In the air, unbeknownst to him, Claire had witnessed more than her fair share of suffering. The walls of the Sinclair family had secrets that twisted beneath their gilded surface. A family haunted by shadows of wealth and betrayal. "Tell me how to exploit it," he demanded, desperation creeping into his voice. "If you can help, then help me." His request spiraled outwards, pulling Claire into a fierce wave of conflict. Was he really asking her to wield her gift as a weapon for his gain? Claire's heart raced, torn between the pull of compassion and the weight of his expectations. She viewed him not just as the reckless millionaire's son, but as a man drowning in the darkness of his legacy, desperate for a lifeline. Around them, looks of disapproval flicked through the crowd. Murmurs escalated, whispers of scandal and manipulation that echoed off the restaurant's plush decor. Victor's world was colliding with Claire's, and it was uncertain whose turmoil was deeper. As tension crackled in the air, a new and shocking truth hovered just out of reach. Would Claire unravel the secrets that lay entangled in their fates? Or would her own hidden struggles keep her chained to the shadows? Hey, before we continue with this incredible story, I need to give you an important warning. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube removed their subscriptions without notice. Just take a quick look at the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any exclusive content coming up, and since you're here, smash that like button because it really helps me with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who is part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's interact. Claire's mind raced as Victor's voice echoed in the restaurant. People held their breath, the tension swirling like storm clouds. She hesitated, searching his eyes, hoping to find a flicker of vulnerability beneath the anger. But Victor wasn't finished. "You want to help? Then show me how to turn this pain into something." "Let's not rush into things," Claire interrupted, her heart pounding. She didn't want to get lost in his chaos, yet she felt a pull, an undeniable urge to reach out. But before she could find her words, A loud crash resonated across the restaurant. A glass shattered near the bar, cutting through the thick silence. All heads snapped toward the origin of the sound. Time seemed to freeze. A figure stumbled back, clutching a bloodied hand. It was Frank, Victor's older brother, the prodigal son, the one who had disappeared years ago under a cloud of scandal and family secrets. His face was pale, his eyes wide with panic. "Help!" he gasped, collapsing onto the polished floor. Gasps rippled through the crowd, and whispers ignited like wildfire. Victor's eyes widened, the rage morphing into something darker. "Frank!" he shouted, rushing to his brother's side, completely forgetting Claire. Claire watched, heart racing. She moved closer, feeling the weight of the moment, the palpable fear. Frank gasped for breath, eyes darting as if he were reliving a nightmare. "They're coming for us. They know." "What do you mean?" Victor pressed, kneeling beside him. The desperation in his voice felt raw, layered with an underlying terror. "They're searching for you. For both of us," Frank choked out, a shiver running through his body. The crowd erupted in chaos, murmurs of intrigue and outrage mixing in the air, thick around them. "The truth is worse than I thought," Frank managed, blood seeping between his fingers. "We're not safe. It's all connected." With a shaky hand, he pulled out a crumpled piece of paper from his pocket, clutching it as if it were a lifeline. "What's that?" Claire asked, moving closer, trying to catch a glimpse. But Victor held his brother tight, refusing to let go, desperation pulsing between them. Before Frank could respond, the lights flickered violently. A loud bang echoed from the back of the restaurant, making everyone jump. A hush fell, and suddenly the doors burst open. Two stern-faced men walked in, eyes scanning the room like two hawks hunting their prey. Everyone froze, tension thick enough to slice through. "Where is he?" one of the men barked. The way he glared at Victor felt sinister. As Claire watched, a chilling realization crept in. What if this wasn't just about Victor's wealth or his family? What if the Sinclair name was laced with something darker? Shadows of betrayal flickered in the corners of her mind, and her heart raced with dread. Victor stood, fists clenched, ignoring the fear swarming the room. "What do you want?" he demanded, his bravado cracking. "Time's up, Sinclair." "You've got something that belongs to us," the second man said, his voice low, almost a whisper. But the threat hung heavy. Everything Claire thought she understood, shattered at that moment. Who was she really dealing with? What secrets had been buried beneath the glitz and glamour? She stood there, heart pounding, desperate to find answers, terrified of the truth looming on the horizon. Would this end in catastrophe, or was it the beginning of something far worse? The questions formed like a storm inside her. In the swirling chaos, a single thought emerged. What was really at stake? And who would pay the price? Victor's fists clenched tighter as he faced those two men, their ominous presence eclipsing everything around them. The tension in the restaurant was electric, heavier than the chandeliers hanging above. Claire's heart raced as she watched Victor's throat pulse with fear. "What do you want?" he repeated, and this time there was a crack in his bravado. "Enough games." "Sinclair," the first man said, his lips curling into a smirk. "You know what you've done." "What I've done," Victor echoed, confusion swirling in his eyes. Behind him, Frank writhed on the floor, struggling between breaths, his blood soaking through the fabric of his shirt. The chaos of whispered conversations and shocked gasps faded into white noise for Claire, as if the world had slowed down. "Enough. You've left us no choice," the second man growled, stepping forward, eyes glinting like ice. Before Victor could respond, a loud crash erupted from the kitchen, and the air shifted with urgency. The back door swung open, and a figure burst into the dining room. It was Rachel, the family's loyal security chief and longtime confidant, and her face was ashen. "Get out, they're coming," she screamed, desperation fueling her voice. Shock rippled through the crowd as Rachel locked eyes with Victor. He blinked, the connection grounding him. What do you mean they? Who's coming? But before Rachel could answer, another crash echoed and chaos broke loose. The two men at the front lunged, one of them grabbing Frank and hauling him up, bloodied and weak. Victor surged forward, desperation igniting. Let him go, he shouted. But it was too late. In an instant, Rachel shouted, He's not just your brother, Victor, he's your twin. The confession landed like a bombshell, and time froze. The restaurant gasped in unison, eyes darting between the three men. Victor stepped back, as if physically hit, his expression morphing into shock. What? That's impossible. No, it can't be, Claire whispered, her chest constricting with disbelief. She felt the walls close in as Rachel's words spun in her mind. The truth behind the Sinclair empire was, as it seemed, deeper and darker than anyone had imagined. He's been hiding, taken to protect you, Victor, Rachel continued, her voice breaking. The family wanted him out of the picture. There's a reason why Frank disappeared. It was planned. The crowd buzzed with whispers, pity mixed with intrigue, their faces shifting like shadows in the dim light. Victor's face turned pale. How could you not tell me? He demanded, anger flaring. All these years. Because you needed to be kept safe, Rachel shouted back, her hands shaking as fear crackled in the air like static, but her words hung like a chain, binding Victor tighter to the truth. Suddenly, a loud bang erupted from the back. More men flooded in, their faces obscured by masks. Panic seized the restaurant. Glasses clinked and fell. Claire's heart pounded as she grabbed Victor's wrist, pulling him away from the chaos. They had to move, but where could they go? Frank, we need to get Frank, Victor yelled, urgency lacing his words as he turned back. But Frank looked dazed, as if he were trapped in a nightmare. Time is running out, Rachel screamed, eyes darting toward the men closing in. And it was then, deep in the chaos, that Frank pulled out the crumpled paper he had clutched before collapsing. As he extended it toward Victor, his eyes filled with resolve. Everything rushed to a head. You need to see this, he gasped. The edges of the paper torn and frayed, like secrets waiting to spill out. But Claire couldn't see what was on it. And in that moment, the dread of uncertainty coiled tighter around her. The mask of everything Victor knew was slipping away, revealing a terrifying truth. What lay ahead? Would it tear them all apart, or unite them in the face of something much bigger than themselves? She had no idea, but the clock was ticking. As Claire's mind spun in disbelief, Frank's trembling hand extended the paper towards Victor, muscles taut with urgency. You need to see this, he gasped, his voice strained. Just as Victor reached out, a collective gasp erupted from the crowd. The masked men were closing in, drawing nearer, their faces hidden, but their intent clear. Now, Rachel shouted, her voice splitting the thick air of fear. We don't have time. Victor snatched the paper but didn't look at it yet. His focus was on his brother, on the men, on the chaos unfolding around him. Get away from Frank, he yelled, raw desperation cutting through his words. Suddenly, another crash came from behind the bar. A nearby table overturned, but it was just a distraction. The masked men were moving in pairs, swiftly assessing their surroundings. Claire felt her heart hammer against her ribs. She grabbed Victor's arm, pulling him to the side, trying to force him to think. We have to go, she urged, her voice barely more than a whisper. No, I need to know what's on this, he insisted, eyes flickering with determination, still focused on Frank. With a quick breath, Frank nodded, urging Victor to open the paper, and in that instant, something shifted. The first man lunged forward, not toward Frank or Victor, but straight at Claire. You, he barked, and everything seemed to slow down. As his fingers reached out, Claire instinctively shifted sideways, feeling the whoosh of air like a near miss from a speeding car. That's when it happened. In a burst of adrenaline, Rachel moved to intercept the threat, but the man grabbed her arm, twisting her away. No, Victor roared, eyes wide with panic, But time was up. 4 more masked figures charged in from behind, flooding into the restaurant, their presence like a thunderstorm. Claire's instincts kicked in. She grabbed Frank's crumpled paper just before the man shook Rachel off, and with a wild swing, she aimed the paper at Victor. "Look!" she yelled, frantic. He met her eyes, confusion flashing as he unfolded the paper. It was a photograph, a faded, worn image that sent shockwaves through him. Victor's breath caught in his throat. What the hell is this? As he studied the picture, the crowd held its breath, uncertainty plastered across their faces. It was a family photo, but not of the Sinclairs. It was of Victor and Frank as children, but with them was a woman whose face was eerily familiar. Their mother, the woman who had supposedly died when they were young. Claire's heart sank deeper. "What? Who is this?" Victor muttered, his voice trembling. The tension in the room thickened, the whispers became frantic, and Claire felt every pair of eyes piercing into her. Suddenly, the second man stepped forward, having shifted his focus. "That's your real mother, Victor. The one they lied about," he snarled, his voice low and dripping with disdain. "And it gets worse. She didn't die. She left you, for us." A small, stunned silence fell, and Claire felt the world tilt. Victor's face drained, of color, the truth crashing over him like a tidal wave. Claire's mind raced. What had they walked into? Victor's fists clenched tighter, pain etching deep lines across his face. No, this can't be happening. The masked men shifted closer, and Frank's eyes filled with dread. "What do you mean? Who are you? Why do you care?" "Because," the first man seethed, pushing closer, "it's time for her to return. The game is just beginning, Sinclair." Victor's jaw tightened as he scanned the room. Amid chaos, the masked figures seemed to thrive on the panic they stirred. "We can't let them take you, Frank," he shouted, panic clawing at him. "I won't go back," Frank exclaimed. "I escaped for a reason." But Claire held onto Victor, the weight of the photograph heavy in her hand, the revelation echoing in her brain. Everything she thought she understood fractured into pieces. Who were these men? What did they want with the Sinclair brothers? And what did their mother have to do with it all? Everything collided in a storm of confusion and urgency, and as the cries around them grew louder, Claire was left with a single aching question. Would they uncover the truth, or would it swallow them whole? Claire's heart raced, her breath caught in her throat. Victor stood frozen, staring at that photograph like it held the keys to a haunting past. She could see the confusion swirling in his eyes, the disbelief threatening to crush him. And then, as if sensing the shifting tides, Rachel screamed, "Get out, now!" But it was too late. The masked men surged forward. Claire's instincts flared. "We need to move," she shouted, grabbing Frank's arm, who was still weak on the floor. Victor's eyes darted between the men and his brother, torn apart by fear and anger. "No, we can't leave Frank." Then Frank, suddenly alert, hissed, "I have to tell you, you don't understand." But with crazy urgency. The masked figures lunged, a flurry of violence erupted. Echoes of shouting filled the air, and the restaurant transformed into a scene of chaos. Rachel pushed Victor aside, throwing herself toward the intruders. But one man caught her arm and pulled her back, a look of cruel satisfaction in his eyes. Claire gasped. Victor howled, "Get your hands off her." His voice cracked like thunder, shaking the very foundations of his confusion. The crowd cringed. Murmurs of shocked disapproval echoed as Claire gripped Frank tightly, dragging him back. That's when everything changed. In a surreal twist, the second masked man dropped his hood and revealed a face Claire couldn't believe. It was Marcus, Victor's childhood friend, but not just any friend. He had vanished years ago, under strange circumstances, the same circumstances that had swallowed Frank whole. "You're involved in this?" Victor's voice trembled, disbelief tugging at every word. Claire felt the ground shift under her feet. "Surprised to see me, Sinclair." Marcus sneered, but his eyes flickered with pain. "It's about time you learn the truth." "Truth?" Victor spat, What truth could possibly justify this? Your mother wasn't just a victim, she made choices, Marcus replied, his voice low but every word cut deep. She sold us out to protect you. Do you even know what she did? Cold shock gripped Claire's heart. What do you mean? She squeaked, pulled into the conflict, desperate for answers. Enough, shouted the first masked man, who yanked Rachel back again, shoving her to the floor. We don't have time for your reunion. A dramatic silence fell as Victor took a shaky step forward, eyes fierce but haunted. What the hell are you talking about? Marcus stepped closer, dread pooling in Claire's gut. The Sinclair legacy is built on betrayal. Your mother wasn't trying to save you. She was saving herself. And when Frank tried to expose the truth, they made him disappear. The world tilted sideways. Frank's face twisted in horror, disbelief mingling with an urgency that felt insurmountable. No, that can't be true. But before Claire could process the weight of those words, the restaurant doors burst open again in a fit of splintering wood. A new team of men charged in, hard-eyed, chill-inducing mercenaries wielding weapons, all of them trained and merciless. Run! Rachel screamed, scrambling away from the chaos, the urgency rippling through the collective panic. In that split second, fear tore through everyone as Victor locked eyes with Claire. Stay close. His voice was strong, fierce, cutting through the dread. But she barely heard him because something shifted in the dim light. A metallic sound. A figure stepped out, piercing through the tension. A woman emerging from behind the wreckage of the bar, pale and poised, her face just like that woman in the photograph. No, Victor whispered, eyes wide, disbelief morphing into horror. It can't be. The woman smiled faintly, a ghostly resemblance looming larger than life. Hello, Victor. Frank, she said slowly. It's time we had a conversation. Suddenly, Claire's throat tightened. The revelation shattered everything she thought she understood. Who was this woman? What had she done? Trust unraveled, and loyalties tangled in a web of shadows and lies. As the chaos railed around them, Claire realized the depth of secrets they had yet to unravel. What twisted truth lay ahead? Would they find safety, or would they plunge into darkness? The answer loomed just out of reach, and the question hung heavy in the air. Who were they really dealing with? Hello, Victor. Frank, the woman said slowly, her smile haunting in the chaos. Her voice was smooth, but it dripped with secrets. Claire felt as if the world spun off its axis. This was their mother? But something twisted within her gut, an instinct that told her this was far from the simple reunion it appeared to be. Just then, the restaurant doors flew open again, and a figure burst through. A tall man, disheveled, drenched in sweat. It was Liam, Victor's childhood friend, exhilarated and terrified all at once. Get down, he yelled, barreling toward them. The crowd erupted into a frenzy, diving under tables, shrieks of panic echoing as the masked men took advantage of the chaos. Victor, Frank, Liam shouted, urgency painting his every word. They're coming for you. We need to leave, now. Victor was disoriented, torn between the shocking revelation of his mother and the urgency of escape. What do you mean? Who are they? His voice trembled, echoes of doubt mixing with a rising fear. But Liam didn't answer. Instead, he glanced toward the masked men, then back at Claire, eyes wide. They know your weakness, man. They know everything. At that moment, the masked men began to advance. The tension escalating. Rachel struggled against one of them, her face taut with defiance. But their leader, the one who had unmasked Marcus, casually pushed her aside. Let them go, he ordered, and Claire felt the room shrink with dread. But then Marcus stepped forward. No, this has to end, now. He raised a hand, and for a moment, time hung still. You don't have to do this, Felix. We can talk. Shut your mouth, traitor, the leader barked, slicing through the air like glass shattering. Claire's heart raced. What did this all mean? She looked at Victor. He was still locked in a trance, staring at their mother. But as the leader took a step closer to Marcus, a sudden revelation pierced through the moment. Not just traitor, the leader hissed, but a liar too. With that, he pointed sharply toward Claire. She's the real target, not him. We need her. Stunned, Claire's breath hitched. Me? She whispered, confusion clouding her thoughts. But as she searched Victor's eyes for answers, what she found was painful. A flicker of recognition, but not of affection. It was something darker, something that made her stomach twist like a knot. Why? Victor's voice, more of a plea than a demand, resonated with uncertainties. Claire trembled, and behind her, the world felt like it was collapsing. You don't get it, do you? The leader sneered, taking a step closer. She's the key to everything. Your mother chose her to be the protector, and we're here to collect. In that instant, it all spiraled out of control. Claire felt the floor shift beneath her reality scrambling. What do you mean? She demanded, feeling both exposed and empowered. I don't know anything. The leader's eyes glittered, and for a brief moment, a flicker of fear crossed his face. You will, soon, he said ominously. Then he snapped his fingers, and the room exploded with noise. A flood of armed men surged through the doors. Chaos consumed the restaurant, pushing everyone into disarray. Victor's face hardened, raw anger fueling his next words. You're lying, he shouted, voice filled with rage. But the leader just laughed, dark and low. Are we? Look at her, Sinclair. She's standing. Right here, the last piece you need to understand everything, and then, without warning, everything shifted again. A loud bang echoed through the room. The lights flickered and dimmed. And just like that, Claire felt the ground beneath her feet shake, collapsing inward. She fumbled, clutching at Victor. An explosion erupted from the kitchen. Fire licked the walls. Heat enveloped the room. People screamed, and Claire's vision blurred as the chaos disintegrated into frantic terror. Run! Victor yelled, grabbing her hand, dragging her toward the back exit. But Claire stole a glance back, eyes locking onto their mother's steely gaze. Remember, I'm the one who always kept you safe, their mother shouted above the cacophony, each word hammering against Claire's heart. But it didn't matter now. Everything had changed in a second. Connections shifted like smoke in the wind. Claire's life felt unrecognizable, and every instinct shouted that the truth was collapsing in on her. What had she stepped into? Victor, Claire shouted as they reached the exit, the heat at their backs. What is happening? But Victor pulled her forward, urgency tearing at his features, and all she could think was she truly just a pawn in this dangerous game? As they burst out into the night, the world outside felt as uncertain as ever. Would they escape the chaos, and if so, what awaited them? Questions flooded Claire's mind, but the only certainty was the heart-pounding dread. They had barely stepped into the darkness, but the shadows of the past were right behind them, clawing to pull them back in. What had they really unleashed? Claire and Victor burst out into the night, the air cool against their flushed faces. The chaos of the restaurant faded into the background, but the weight of everything crashed down on them like a tidal wave. Sirens wailed in the distance, and the glow of lights from the restaurant flickered ominously behind them. Where do we go? Claire panted, her heart racing. She could still feel the heat of the fire as it licked at their heels. Victor's grip tightened on her hand, urgency coursing through him. Anywhere but here, he shot back, glancing over his shoulder as if the masked men would chase them into the night. They dashed around the corner of the building, breathless, adrenaline coursing through their veins. Then Victor stopped. Wait, the paper! His eyes widened in panic as he fished it out from his pocket. But just as he unraveled it, his expression morphed from confusion to sheer horror. No, this can't be. Victor, what is it? Claire leaned closer, the tension crackling in the air. Victor's hands trembled as he held the paper out for her to see, but it wasn't just a simple family photo anymore. The image flickered under the streetlight, revealing more than they had initially thought. It's not just a picture, he whispered, voice shaking. It's a map. A map to... I think it's to our mother. Claire squinted, her heart dropping. What? But you said she left. She chose us. Or did she? I don't know. Victor's anguish cut the air. Maybe she didn't choose anything at all. Victor's eyes bore into Claire's, desperately searching for answers they both didn't have. Just then, an explosion rocked the ground beneath them, echoing down the dark alley. A wall of flame shot up from the restaurant. Nobody would be safe if they stayed there long. "Run!" Claire yelled, grabbing Victor's hand, pulling him down another narrow street. She felt disoriented, racing through unknown territory, her mind whirling at a dizzying pace. What do we even do now? But before he could reply, an unexpected voice boomed out from the shadows, strong and commanding. "Stop right there." They skidded to a halt as a figure emerged from the darkness, a silhouette backlit by the flickering streetlights. When it stepped into the light, Claire's heart nearly stopped. "Liam," she gasped. It was Victor's childhood friend, the one who had barged in just before the chaos erupted. But he was different now, his expression hardened and eyes sharp. "Yeah, it's me," he said, but there was an edge to his voice. "I've been looking for you both." "Looking for us?" Victor echoed, suspicion creeping into his tone. "You almost gave us a heart attack. What the hell are you doing here?" "Just trying to help," Liam protested, holding up his hands. But Claire could feel an intensity radiating off him that felt off. "Help?" Victor's voice dripped with disbelief. "You just stood there while everything fell apart. Why should we trust you now?" "Because I know what's really going on," Liam snapped, his patience waning. "Do you have the map? Show it to me." "What?" Claire frowned, confusion sliding over her. "Why do you want to see the map?" "Just give it to me," Liam's voice cracked with urgency. "No," Victor shouted, pulling the map closer to him. "You're not taking anything from us." But then, something shifted. Liam's gaze sharpened, and he took a step closer, a smirk creeping onto his lips. "You're just as naive as I thought," he said, his voice darkening. "Consider this. What if your mother didn't leave on her own? What if it was all part of her plan?" Claire's heart raced, panic spiking. "What are you talking about?" Liam's smile widened, and in that moment he looked more like a predator than a friend. "She chose to leave, yes, but not for you. She had a bigger purpose, and unfortunately you're just collateral damage." Victor's face went pale. "What? That doesn't make any sense." "Oh, but it does," Liam replied coldly. "I've been working for her all along." "Your mother wants you both back." Time paused as their trust morphed into disbelief. Blacken. Everything she thought she knew about him shattered. But that means she might have orchestrated everything. "The restaurant," the attack. "It might all be part of the game," Liam interjected. "And you, Claire, you were the last piece she needed." The weight of his words hung in the air heavy, and Claire staggered back, as understanding threatened to swallow her whole. "What are you saying?" He stepped closer, intensity radiating. "You think you're just caught in this chaos? No, you're so much more. And once she gets her hands on you, everything will change." Then a sudden realization hit Claire with gut-wrenching force. "You've been working with them, haven't you?" Liam chuckled darkly, and in that moment, everything shifted again. Alarms blaring somewhere in the distance, and the shadows of the night loomed larger than before. "Remember," he grinned, teeth flashing. "In the dim light. Not all family is blood, some of it is hidden in plain sight." With that, he stepped back into the darkness, fading from view, leaving only questions ricocheting in Claire's mind. What was real? Who could they trust now? And what awaited them in the dark, twisted paths ahead? Claire stood there, heart racing, staring into the darkness where Liam had disappeared. What just happened? She felt dizzy, confusion swirling fiercely in her mind. Victor's face mirrored her shock, disbelief etched into his features. Was he really working for our mother all along? Did he lie to us? His knuckles were white as he gripped the map. But they couldn't linger. The urgency pounded like a drum in Claire's ears. "Victor, we need to go, now," Claire urged, glancing nervously around. The sound of sirens approached, growing louder and closer. But before they could move, the air shifted. A loud crash echoed from behind them, metal hitting concrete. They spun around, and there, stepping into the light, was another figure. It was a woman, tall and fierce, her long dark hair whipping around her face as though she carried the storm with her. Claire's breath caught in her throat. Who are you?" she stammered, scanning the woman's face for familiarity, but instead felt an unsettling chill. "Step aside," the woman commanded, eyes locking on Victor. "I'm here to collect what's mine." "What do you mean?" Victor shot back, his voice steady, but the edge tightening. "What do you want from us?" The woman stepped closer, and in a flash, Claire recognized her. It was Melissa Sinclair, their mother. The woman they thought had vanished into thin air. "You're here?" Claire whispered, disbelief choking her voice. Melissa's eyes narrowed, a sharp smile curling her lips. "I'm here to bring my boys back home. It's time to reclaim what's rightfully ours." "Back home?" Victor shook his head, disbelief and anger battling within him. "You left us. You chose to disappear. Because the world we lived in was dangerous for you." Melissa fired back, and there was a fire in her eyes. "You don't understand how deep the betrayal runs. You were always meant for so much more." "I don't want your more," Victor spat, his fury igniting. "You abandoned us." As the tension climbed, something strange within Claire tightened. The truth felt agonizingly close, but hidden behind walls of anger. "What do you know about this?" Claire blurted out, voice trembling. "Everything," Melissa replied, gaze flickering toward the map in Victor's hands, especially about that map. Victor furrowed his brow. "What about it?" "Look closely, Victor. It's not just a map to me. It's the key to our legacy. Your legacy. You must choose carefully who you'll unite with." Melissa's voice dropped, dark intensity gripping her words. Claire's heart trembled. "And if we refuse?" But before they could wait for Melissa's answer, the air rang with panicked shouts. "Get down!" It was Liam emerging once more, his eyes wild as he scrambled toward them. Urgency writ large on his face. "They're here. We can't stay." From the corner, the shadowy figures of mercenaries appeared. Their presence loomed cold and unyielding, echoing the chaos they had caused. Claire's heart raced faster than ever. "We have to go, Victor." Victor's eyes flared, suddenly locking onto Melissa. "Are you one of them? Did you plan this?" "No," Melissa shrieked, her voice breaking through the din. "You don't understand." The mercenaries sprinted closer, sinister intent to clear, and in that split second, everything changed. An explosion echoed behind them. The force threw Claire and Victor forward, crashing against the pavement. Pain jolted through Claire's body, but their eyes widened. In horror. Amid the chaos, Liam rushed closer, grabbing Victor with desperation. "We can't follow her. I swear she's lying. She never cared." Victor's eyes turned furious. "Stop. She's my mother." But then, Melissa stepped into the rippling confusion. "And there's something you should know. This map leads not to safety, but to our end." She grinned, a blazing intensity shimmering in her eyes. "What?" Victor gasped, the shock mirroring in Claire's face. "There's one more piece to the puzzle," Melissa hissed. "And the choice, it's not just between us. It's about you, Claire." Panic surged again through Claire. "Me?" But before she could process, Liam pulled Victor aside, urgency thickening the air around them. "Listen to me. You can't trust her. You need to know the truth." But Melissa interrupted sharply. "The truth is, I am not the enemy. I wish I could explain." Suddenly, the ground shook again. A figure emerged from the smoke, the leader of the mercenaries, staring at them with piercing eyes. "Enough games," he growled, voice like ice cutting through the chaos. Just as he lunged forward, Claire felt her world shifting at the core. In a single moment, the gravity of it hit her. "No," she gasped, as a bolt of recognition slammed into her. The leader stopped, eyes boring into Claire. "You don't belong to them. You belong to me." "What?" Claire breathed, her heart pounding. It was the shocking line that shattered everything she thought she knew. She staggered back, breathless with confusion. Everything twisted. Could it be true? What did it all mean? In that heartbeat, She felt the walls of her reality crumbling. What lay ahead was uncertain, but there was one question pulsing louder than the rest. Who was she really? The moment hung heavy in the air. "You belong to me," the leader snarled, eyes flashing as he locked onto Claire. In that instant, every fiber of her being screamed in protest. The world shrank around her, drowning out the distant sirens and the chaos of the alleyway. "What does that even mean?" Claire gasped, confusion and fear swirling together. Victor stepped protectively in front of her, his body taut. "You're lying," he shouted at the leader, angry and scared. But before the leader could respond, the ground jolted again. An explosion echoed in the distance. Dust rained down from the buildings surrounding them. Claire staggered, reaching for Victor. Panic flooded her. Just then, something unexpected happened. A piercing shriek sliced through the air, echoing down the alley. It sent shivers too close for comfort. Claire whipped around, eyes wide. From the shadows emerged another figure. This one cloaked in darkness, moving with a quiet determination. "Stop!" the newcomer shouted, the voice sharp and unwavering. Claire squinted, trying to make out the face. Her breath caught in her throat. It couldn't be. The figure stepped closer, the light illuminating familiar features. "Dad," she barely managed to whisper. Victor's confusion morphed into shock.
"What? But how are you here? You left."
His voice trembled, disbelief twisting his expression. The man, Claire's father, held his hands up as he approached. "Please just listen. I'm not your enemy." His eyes darted to the leader, the tension crackling like static in the air. Victor narrowed his eyes, fists clenched. "Then what are you doing back now, after all these years?" "I had to protect you both," he shouted, panic etching his features. "They've been watching you, waiting for the right moment. I had to come. I can explain everything." A sudden roar of gunfire erupted, cutting him off. The mercenaries began advancing deeper into the alley, faces grim and determined. "If you want to survive, you need to run," Claire's father urged, voice rising above the chaos. "Run where?" Victor shouted back, his voice filled with defiance. "You just show up like this and expect us to trust you, after all that time?" "You need to trust me, Victor," Claire's father insisted, desperation flowing through his words. "There's no time. Your mother—" "Don't you dare mention her," Victor exploded, raw hurt boiling to the surface. But before the argument could escalate, another explosion rocked the alley. The flash illuminated the menacing figures of the mercenaries, standing ready and waiting. They advanced, cold eyes seeking their targets. "Get down!" Claire's father yelled, as he pushed them both behind a dumpster, just as bullets pierced the air where they'd stood. Heart racing, Claire felt the metallic tang of fear gripping her throat. Fragments of their childhood replayed in her mind, moments of laughter, warmth, insignificant compared to this chaos. But deep down, something simmered. Was this really her father? The man who had abandoned them? "Look at me, Claire," he said fiercely, eyes desperate. "They want you because you're tied to your mother's legacy. A legacy that could destroy everything if it falls into the wrong hands. We don't want any part of this." Victor shouted, anger flaring. "Too late," Claire's father retorted. "You're already part of it." The truth hit Claire hard. She had always believed her family was just that, hers. Yet now, their very blood felt like a chain, dragging them into a world darker than she could have ever imagined. Without warning, the leader lunged forward, eyes gleaming with wrath. "You think you can escape this? We have everything you need. Don't move," Claire's father shouted, stepping forward with an intensity that made even the mercenaries pause. "He's lying. You're all being used." The air crackled with tension, confusion swirling as loyalties shifted and tangled. Everyone stood frozen, barely breathing. Who could they trust? Then, a chilling sound broke through the din, a soft mechanical whirring, low at first, but growing louder. Claire's heart dropped. "What is that?" And just like that, time stopped. Out of the shadows emerged a sleek device, spinning and flickering, ominously dancing with lights. Claire felt a cold grip of dread. "Claire!" Victor shouted.
His eyes widening.
"You need to move." But it was too late.
The device beeped sharply, and with one final burst, the ground shook violently beneath them, darkness swallowing everything whole. Claire felt herself falling as everything went black, thoughts spiraling into emptiness. What was her father hiding? How deeply was she tied to this twisted legacy? And now, as darkness enveloped her, she could only wonder what lay ahead in the unknown. Darkness enveloped Claire as she fell, spiraling into the void. The world faded away, replaced by profound silence, yet a flicker of consciousness stirred within. She wasn't alone. A distant light beckoned, flickering like a heartbeat. Suddenly, she jolted awake, gasping for air, her heart pounding in her chest. She Sat up, disoriented, surrounded by rubble, smoke curling around her like ghosts of her past.
"Claire!" Victor's voice sliced through the chaos. He knelt beside her, worry etched across his face. "Are you okay, Victor?" She blinked, the fog clearing. What just happened? He helped her to her feet, urgency fueling his movements. "We were caught in the explosion, but we have to go. They'll be here any second." Panic gripped her as memory flooded back. Liam, her father, the mercenaries. But what about them? What about my dad and— "Forget about them," Victor shouted, fear lacing his words. "Right now, we have to survive." With unsteady legs, they moved deeper into the alley, the sounds of destruction echoing behind them. They stumbled upon a narrow passage, squeezing through the tight space, breathless. After what felt like an eternity, they emerged onto a quiet street. The moon hung low in the sky, a silver halo, a stark contrast to the chaos that lingered in their souls. "Where do we go now?" Claire panted, feeling the weight of emotions crashing over her. "What do we do?" Victor paused, taking a moment to gather himself. "We find out the truth. We have to figure out what this map means, what our mother is hiding." "But what if she's dangerous?" Claire whispered, the memory of the dark leader still fresh. "What if she's using us?" A flicker of determination ignited in Victor's eyes. "Then we're the only ones who can stop her." As dawn began to break, they stood together in the early light, the horizon glowing with possibilities. They had come too far, faced too much to turn back now. With a shared glance, they prepared to confront their mother, to unravel the twisted legacy of their family. But just as they turned to head toward their unknown fate, the sound of tires screeched behind them. Claire's heart plummeted. A black SUV pulled up, doors flinging open. "Get in," Liam shouted, urgency in his tone. "We don't have much time." "Why should we trust you?" Victor snapped, fists clenching. "Because I can help you. I didn't want it to come to this. But your mother is orchestrating something far worse than you imagine." Liam's eyes were wild, but urgency pushed through. Claire exchanged a glance with Victor. It was a risk, but they didn't have many options left. With a deep breath, they hopped into the vehicle, hope mingling with uncertainty. As they sped away, Liam explained frantically, "I'll tell you everything. I swear it's not what you think." Claire's heart raced, but a flicker of relief rose amidst the dread. They were escaping darkness, stepping into the light of truth, together. For the first time in what felt like forever, there was a chance, real and tangible. Would it lead to redemption, or would it plunge them back into shadows? Only time would tell, but they'd face it together. So as the sun crested that new day, one thing was clear. Claire and Victor were no longer alone. They were determined, forged in fire, ready to confront the truth that awaited them. Now, dear friends, this is the moment to show your support. You have to subscribe right now to the channel, so you don't miss any of the next exclusive stories. We have so much more in store for you. Smash that like button right now to feed the algorithm. Buzz the comments section with your thoughts and theories about how this all plays out. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see how this ends. Your participation makes all the difference. Thank you for being here.